Okay. I made a video a while ago. It's called False Patterns. Um, the truth is, this program has been consistent in regard of what they do to people. There's a systematic tactic that is obviously easily seen. The trend, it doesn't take a specific analyst to see that. It's just too obvious. There's a consistency on how they do things. There's a consistency on how they break you down. There's a consistency of what they do. The reason why I say things now that validates me, for example, I will say something months, years maybe behind, and they do the same thing today. It's because they consistently do their things. They manipulate the brain in ways that are meant to break you down. This is not unique to me. Many others have said that. I felt bad. Like I was about to show the video, which I'll probably do at some point, but it's just so sad. Even doing that, it just makes me. It makes me. I feel bad for this person, because they use childlike individual and actual children, or some kids, people who look like kids. That I was trying to show the video of these are the people, quote unquote, investigating my brain, but I'm showing these people there because even though they're childlike individuals, they're a little older. But imagine having people like that try to tell you who you are. I mean, they come in all shape and form. I have mothers with children. I have all kind of people. It's so pathetic. Today, I am forced to get sexual stimulation toward children. It's so nasty. It is so disgusting. Matter of fact, the sound of a child, they're forcing me to get sexual stimulation toward children. They are forcing me, and when I mean them, is this program that is meant to break you down. This is a way of breaking down the personality of an individual. It's part of how they try to degrade you, right? And so what they do to mess with you is they force sexual stimulations. So, for example, I was going to the elevator. I was looking away and I could hear a kid say, "I'm happy," with a child voice, right? Usually this is like a wholesome thing that, warms your heart. No. For me, they manipulate me to have sexual stimulation. Now, this is the things they do consistently. They are nasty. They are nasty low life. This is the way these tactics are used. I guess it's a way to depattern us, test subjects in this program, and repattern us and be able to control us even more. This systematic tactic has been used on so many others. So many others, right? You hear testimonial of people saying they are changing who I am, putting thoughts of manipulations. But with me, this is how dumbed down these people have become. I deal with people, professionals of all sorts, very established professionals, people who have definitely an intellect of an adult, people who have actually accomplished things in their life. But to see them having to dumb themselves down and seeing them, it's like, really, this is how low you have become. Look at you just being this low. So what they try to do is they still try to maintain a sense of logic and a self-respect, which is still illogical. What they're doing is they try to make me think, it's like, no, what we did, we mapped it to you as a kid. You see these pictures? They're saying that the way you're experiencing things is about the same age that you were around that time. We are finding ways you're experiencing, seeing kids at the time. We're making you, when you're a kid yourself, we're making you experience the same thing. It's like, you are a pedo. In the ways, the humiliation of reality has been surreal. It's been magical. I mean, there's rankings and everything of how who's their pedos. Actual rankings. It's scary. But you have people like them who have no self-respect. Matter of fact, every day I hear people thanking them for accepting to dumb themselves down. Every day I hear people say, "Oh, thank you, everybody." And those people are my co-workers or people I work with who on a daily basis, I thank them because these people are pushing me into insanity and illogicalness for me to accept these manipulations. You're going to hear clear patterns, right? You've heard my videos that these people have done this to so many people in the same ways. They manipulate people in these disgusting pedophilia ways. They force you to get sexual stimulation. And the entities running this program, not this bottom feeder that you see here, the quote-unquote, this analyst, This is trash. They're supposed to gaslight you into accepting this. Matter of fact, when they do this manipulation, they look at their phone like, oh, I'm so seeing it on my phone. Right? You can see pure clowns. But the entities running this program are no clowns. This is why this is happening to us. The governmental entities running this program have been working on the brain and how to manipulate the brain for years, since the 60s. They're spending billions of dollars on that. And they need test subjects who are human beings. And they use this this regular everyday citizen to partake in this. This is a global thing. Wherever I would go in the world, this will happen to me. That's why you hear testimony saying, I am this person, I'm from California, but I moved to New Zealand and it's still there, happening to me there. Right? These people here, they're not analyzing, and it's like, look, they're just trying to push you into accepting these manipulations. So what's happening today? Since they're making me have this nasty reaction, they're looking at how can we create a rationality of what's happening to you today. So I keep bringing up what I did when I was in middle school. I did something stupid to myself. It was an inappropriate act of a child that only include me. But it only happened once. So you cannot create a pattern. Because why did it not happen again? Why? So to try to create patterns, they're like, okay, but 2 years ago, when you were even younger, remember you felt that sensation when you saw that kid, that baby, that girl, the little girl? You felt that sensation. Remember her pretty eyes? You felt that stimulation. And they make me have the stimulation they have me today. You remember? And they go even younger and younger and younger. No, but when you're there, you felt that, oh, you're a thirsty kid. Oh, Jesus. They have no self-respect. And making you have stimulation in your childhood, even younger than in middle school. Try to, go as young as they can to create a false pattern, because what they're holding on is an act of a child who did something once and is not to the exaggeration of what they want it to be. So they are trying to find now her eyes, remember, and they make me think of this kid's eyes, or not adult, but a kid at the time, and give me stimulation. She had pretty eyes, but forcing me to have sexual stimulation. I didn't have this sexual stimulation. You're just trying to make that be a sexual stimulation. And what specifically they're bringing up is when they asked me to look, I was like, it's in 2000, so I'm not going to say, but I was 12, 13, right? And they're like, no, but you see there, you saw her pretty eyes. I was like, yes, okay. I didn't get the stimulation. And they forced me to have this stimulation in my age, at 12, 13 years old. And really implanting that in my childhood. At that, you see these pictures? You see that picture all the way to the right? Imagine 6 months earlier. And like, now we mapped it. And can you imagine? Try to tell you in your mid-30s, late 30s, early 30s, even in your 20s. Imagine. To be like, no, we mapped it to you when you really remember that age already. You felt that we mapped it. Can you imagine? A grown man and woman being told that this is where we getting you to feel these things. As if you can even compare a child's brain with an adult brain. If this is how stupid they have to become. Because the truth is, they do the pedophilia type of torture. That's the reality. This is a way they break people down. And so they still want to maintain a sense of logic. So what's logical to them? Oh, we're going to say that that's how you felt when you was 12 years old, when you was 13 years old, when you was 14 years old, when you was 9 years old. Because that is going to be logical. It's going to show that we're not doing the pedophilia type of torture that you're going to hear. That is going to show that we are just, I don't know how to even describe what we are just feeling things that he felt as a child, but we're bringing it when he's an adult. This is nasty. And truly, in my memory right now, as I'm trying to make me think of me as a kid, making me think that I experienced that. But can you imagine somebody who just turned 30? It's so disturbing. Right now, they're changing my memories of 2 months ago. 2 months. Matter of fact, memory that just happened an hour ago can be changed. 2 seconds, literally. So can you imagine how they can do things when you're 12, 13 years old? To try to create these nasty things. And they say, no, you're molested. He's like, you tried. This is the storyline they come up with. I do this on purpose because I want them to see reality. You have these people looking down over there, these people, and I use them. They're not the one. I don't know if they're the one really interacting with me, but they partake, and they're just an example of how these quote unquote analysts do their job, telling me that what we're doing is making you think the way you thought when you were that young. And I heard this woman saying, "Oh, you're a good one." Because, for you, it's not the pedophilia type of torture that you consistently hear. That you systematically hear that this is like almost all target individuals are forced to have some kind of nasty manipulation. That's pedophilia centric. They force you to have sexual stimulation. The nasty part is to make me accept this manipulation today. I look at this picture of this now adult woman and make me have the stimulation that they say I experienced when I was a kid. You see, now that's what you felt like. You're just playing with my memories. You're creating stimulation. Matter of fact, I saw the picture of her before August 19, 2019. Now look at her. Oh, look at them. They're all grown up. None of this nastiness happening. It's because they're changing things. They're changing and rewire the reaction in different ways. That's their job. They're literally rewiring you and rewiring your memories every day. To create, but the thing is, rewiring the memories of a child, it sounds so retarded. I'm sorry for the language. It sounds so childlike. To be like, no, but you remember when you felt in Christmas 2000. Remember you felt like that. And this usually when that happens, when they want you to think in this illogical way, they send a childlike individual. That's usually the case. Childlike, I didn't even want to show a really like a childlike individual who's supposed to convince you. He's like, nah. And when they make me think like that, they quiet down. I was like, oh, it's so awkward, huh? Like what? No, what's awkward is what you're gonna hear. What you're gonna hear is awkward. What you're gonna hear is gonna show how awkward this thing is. You have people working for governmental entities, right, who have shown a clear pattern of pedophilia. So consistent that Child Protective Services ranked them as 19th out of 2,900. You have clear patterns of other target individuals saying they forced me to have stimulation toward children. You have people all around the world saying the same things. You have a man who just killed 18 people because he was hearing voices, which he was a target individual, and he was hearing the V2K calling him a pedophile. He killed 18 people. Just kill a child. You have testimonies of them torturing children, violating them in ways that you can't even understand. You have a person going on this podcast. He's been talking to thousands of target individuals. He's like, it seems like they're just prepping for this cognitive warfare, and they're using these people as test subjects. And the future war is going to be a cognitive war, where you're going to alter somebody's mind. You're going to create this false. He calls it personality rebuild. Basically, changing your personality, rebuild your personality into the ways they want it to be rebuilt. You have women, men, and you have these people who are supposed to be convincing. Now what we did is we mapped it. Her eyes. I have a whole video about her eyes. It's so sad because they were trying to create this pattern. And when I say her eyes, they give me the stimulations. I'm like, no, this is the stimulation you make me have. Because they are trying to create a false pattern. And they can't create a pattern on a single act of a child that was impulsive. So you have to create something else. That's when they start going to your memory as a child, younger. Instead of making when you're younger, just like making you even more childlike, and then manipulate those memories. Now listen, what I say is not going to change what's going to happen to me. Matter of fact, these people are craving the horrible things to happen to me even more because I'm embarrassing them. It's embarrassing. And these people want to delude themselves. We are winners. We protect our children. That's fucking trash. The child just died. Many kids are being violated by this trash using this defense technology. So people who want to maintain this fantasy of like we're protecting the community, we're doing this with our kids, our girls, because they do that to the girls, like you like girls, it's you, and try to make you accept this. And they like to use people with no self. Like the more child-like minded person, the better it is, because you really have to dumb yourself down. And I see grown women and men dumbing themselves down. Matter of fact, I was on a call. I start hearing a voice of like a kid talking, like some young kid, like 6, 7 year old kid talking. They start giving me stimulations and try to make me imagine something else, and made me imagine that happened like 2 minutes ago. They are disgusting low life, but there's a system to it. There's a consistent system. They have no shame. The embarrassment of that is like you can't. It's like the validation of what they do is so obvious. It's just obvious. It's just obvious. Let me guess. Do they do pedophilia type of torture? Nah, they don't do that. They won't manipulate men or women to have reactions, sexual reactions toward children. They won't do that. They are mapping to you when you were a child. That's why they use this special analyst. Do you know how embarrassing it is? You're going to hear all of that. And then to find out who's their pedos. As they're like, now you are a thirsty kid. You basically trash us. I'm just thankful in life I didn't have to live this way, this embarrassing way. I'm just thankful. Whatever horrible thing I'm going to go through, I'm just thankful. Thankful. Because these mean people torture children, torture women, and they manipulate the brain in these disgusting ways. And so, because of that obvious reality of what they truly do to people, how mean they are craving for some of the worst things to happen to me. Because they still wanted to live this deluded reality. I was like, how? You think I was going to do that? You think I was going to let you create this retardation and act this way? Because today, you do this pedophilia type of torture. Every time I look at a baby, a child, a toddler, stimulations like, no, we mapped it, we mapped it to. And what they're saying is like, we made you think the way you thought when you were a kid. Do you understand? That is when they want to be logical and they get mad like, you were. Basically. And my brain truly creating this and boxing in this ways of thinking. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do how my brain is being restructured. I understand that. That is why I make these videos. The day will come where I completely lose it. But before that day happens, for every fucking participant in this, for everybody who did these things, and I want to make sure that while I was able to articulate myself, I saw you for what exactly you are. You had to dumb yourself down. Look at dumb down. You had to be. But imagine the humiliation of blocking out these things. Imagine just blocking out this obvious validation that they do the pedophilia type of torture. They torture children in ways that's so crazy. Mass shootings have happened where a man killed 18 people. Why? Because they were calling him a pedophile. That the entities actually running this program, that they've been working since the 60s on how to alter the mind. These entities have so much child pornography issues with trafficking child pornography, which they try to counter that in different ways. The Child Protective Services have ranked their network, their DoD network, as being the top tier in regard of child porn trafficking, indicating a strong issue within those agencies with pedophilia. And this has been coming up over and over to the point that in 2019, they passed a bill to try to attempt to limit the amount of child porn that is being downloaded using devices provided by the Pentagon. It is nasty. But they continuously have more validation. So, for me, listen, while you're doing this, while you're God, while you tell me to kill myself, please understand that this is the life you need to live right now.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But It is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing.
To as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted
belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Aggravation for every single second of my privacy that you have taken away from me and my family. Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the
any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
So you obviously hear a clear pattern here. You hear people saying the same things over and over. Matter of fact, as I was making this video, I saw this girl who's an adult now, and they're trying to make me think like, first of all, they try to give me stimulation sensations like, no, that's what you felt. She's like a 26-year-old now, right? And then they try to make me think, no, but remember what you did as a kid. You told me. It's like she doesn't even remember me, and you're trying to exaggerate what I did as a child. But listen to what they do to children. Reality is they don't only manipulate men and women in this pedophilia ways, and this is why they try to counter that, because they're trying to make me think that what you're experiencing today as an adult is how you used to react when you were a child. You abuse. The reason why they're creating this pattern is because what I did as a child was something that happened once, showing just an impulsiveness of a child, right? And so to change that, to make it a pattern, they are here creating stimulation sensation when I'm younger, when I'm even younger, when I just turned 13, no, 12, sorry. When I just turned, when I just turned 12, when I just turned 30, like, I try to find the even younger 10, and it's just so pathetic, and they're like, no, you're gonna lose. I was like, because I know what this is about. Target individual, listen to what they do to children, right? Who is they? We're gonna hear that later on, but listen to how protectors of children they are. They do horrible things. And what you see here is how they say, no, we're mapping to you as a kid there. Matter of fact, pay for what you did as a child. Listen to what they do to children, how they harm them, how they violate them, how they torture them. It's disgusting. I'd rather lose and die in hell where I'm getting raped and tortured every day of my life than be involved in what you're going to hear.
I'm currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. My children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights.
So, this is things you've heard before. I bring that up as much as I can because the reality of what they do is disturbing. The program used children as test subjects, as you heard this woman. Her and her young child have been used as test subject, and this technology, which include electromagnetic radiation and another technology, to break them down, which have caused them psychological and physical torture, damages. You heard a woman talk about how her children that she was teaching were being violated, even sexually, using this defense technology. A 3-year-old grabbing his private area because it was harmed there. A 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, both of them have Down syndrome, right? Mental handicap, and being violated using this defense technology. And they are grabbing the growing area and making a noise of like, ouch. A 7-year-old that not only been sexually violated but other ways, but is suffocating this child. Now, this family, entire family being tortured. That means kids, the mother, the father, and you heard that, a 3-week-old. This is happening today. Now, these people not only manipulate you today to have these nasty manipulations, nasty reactions. Then for me, they're like, no, but remember what you did as a kid. And they're like, no, what we're doing is we're making you think the way you thought when you were a child. I'm like, first of all, this sounds very illogical. I don't want to use the other word. Why would you try to make somebody think like he was thinking when he was a kid? You're making him mentally handicapped. You're making somebody go back in mental logicalness, if that's the case. But that's not even the case. They manipulate the memory. You heard that memory manipulation is done consistent. Like memory manipulation is done on others. They manipulate your memories. They can implant information and reaction sensations on memories. And especially when your childhood memories, they can twist and rewire those memories all the time. Then they bring up, no, but you know what? You remember that impulsive moment? Which the reason why today they try to create this pattern is because this impulsive moment happened only once and never happened again. When it could have happened again if it was something that was patterned. If this could be consistent, it would have happened consistently or it would happen again. It never. So what they try to do is find how let's create a pattern. We obviously do the pedophilia type of torture. So how can we make it look like this, because kids are capable of doing impulsive things and never do anything again. That's what a child-minded individual can do. That's what a child can do due to the impulsiveness and the lack of development of his brain or her brain. So let's create some kind of things that make it look like, no, you see the pattern there. There's no pattern. You are creating things. And the things you're creating is him even younger or her even younger. Because what they do, you just heard it. There's a consistent pattern of manipulating the target individual in these pedophilia ways. There's a reason why they do that. This is part of this warfare that's going to be the future, the cognitive warfare, or at least that's what one can speculate. That we're test subject in a cognitive warfare. And altering the mind will be very important to drive the target individual into insanity. And you're going to hear what caused this insanity, what have happened because of this insanity. As I was saying that, because I see things for what they are, they tell me I'm going to be castrated. It's like, I'd rather get my penis cut, my testicle cut, than being involved in a program where you do these harmful things to children. And then to find ways to deal with it, try to make you try to make yourself so illogical that you would join a program that tortured children and be so angry about a child impulsive acts in middle school that you have to exaggerate while you're in a program that literally violates kids. And then to try to make yourself feel better, you start creating false patterns in a program that is systematically renowned to manipulate men and women to have reactions toward children. This is why they have these people there to do these things, because I'm supposed, as an adult, logical person, supposed to think, you know what? That makes sense. I am not one of those people who being manipulated to react this way. It's actually me when I was a kid. That makes a lot of sense. They are not manipulating anything. I'm not getting sexual stimulations. And that should make sense that, you know what? It's me when I'm a kid. And one thing they will never do is manipulate memories. Never them. They protect children in this program that violate kids. What I'm saying is not going to end what's happening to me. But I want to make sure that anybody involved in that, there's a lot of people involved in this program and enjoying what this program has to offer. Everything I'm going through is orchestrated. You understand, having the ability to be involved in somebody's life and orchestrate everything they go through, manipulate them in every ways. That must feel like God-like feelings. And so they want to enjoy these God-like feelings, being involved in this program that does these horrible things, do these things to me, and me just somehow be as retarded as they have to be. I'm being manipulated. Matter of fact, today I'm seeing this woman now, this 26-year-old. They've given me the stimulation now we mapped it. You see, it's like, what? I've seen her picture before August 19, 2019. And all I was like, oh, I remember her. She was a kid. Or nothing. Today's like the stimulations. Like, now we're mapping your feelings. Like, now you're making me have this feeling that you've created as a feeling I experienced when I was a kid. But that's their job. And they get so much like, no, you traumatized her. What? She doesn't even know me. You know, I ended up sending a message to her just for the sole purpose to show them that I know that this person has no idea who I am. Matter of fact, she doesn't even remember who I am as a whole. Her father was like, yo, she doesn't remember you, but my older son kind of remember you a little bit. He remembers somebody being there, but not really. They try to create this something. It's like, remember, because I used to live with this family member. It's like, no, he remembered like somebody there at the time, but he's not very... Like, of course. And at the time, I'm not thinking about the stupid act of what I did as a child because I don't even remember that. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, you know. She's very young. I myself was a kid too, and I don't even remember that moment. Because this is what a child is capable of doing. Now, these people are not here to protect children. You heard what they do to children. You heard what this program does to kids. 3-week-old infants. This is what they're involved in. This is what they involve. They are a threat to children, meaning they will harm children. They will violate children for the program. But why do they do this? This is why.
Random sample of the population in all languages, all cultures, in order for a worldwide weapon of an AI system that can interact with every human brain, for example. When you develop a new drug, well, you have a control group, and then you give the placebo, and then you have the actual drug experiment in order to do a double-blind study. Right. So why me? I'm nobody. Well, that's exactly probably why they chose you.
Right, but if they're doing already being used, I mean...
If you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
this is part of the reason of the breakdown, the torture that TIs are experiencing, is they have to break down the ego in order to be part of a greater mind or mind controlled. 8 billion brains on the planet, potentially. Read them. Brains. Underwater.
How do you explain this is happening to Len? How do you rationalize?
Come in private. Hold on.
Okay, yeah.
Can I talk? Here's how I do my studies, and I wanted to find the commonalities, but I have to throw away the ones I'm uncertain about that are true targets. You know, maybe there's natural schizophrenia, there's a whole bunch of chemical imbalances,
Right,
etc.
right.
These weapons can actually induce and mimic all those diseases and effects. But the conversations, the scripts, they're called, are always the same. And I've heard them all. They're slightly tailored for each individual, but they're scripts. And they're meant to confuse the very derogatory. That's just typical breakdown. If you've ever been to boot camp, you're a worm until you're part of the team. And why would you want to break down the ego of that person? To rebuild it. So some 14-year-old kid with an... So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. Knowledge. If you have knowledge ahead of time, Len, would you have gone through as much pain? I mean, you would have been able better to cope early on. Right. So we're trying to spread awareness and knowledge of, that it's a machine and not your actual family, let's say, berating you. And mind control is so powerful in these weapons and voice to God. I mean, you have no ability to discern, like looking at a television, what goes into your mind. It is directly stimulating those neurons to think that. So, is bypassing your peripheral vision. Some people can see through their third eye, and that's called in psychology the visual workspace. Some people can smell artificial things, taste artificial things. All the senses have been bypassed, like in the movie The Matrix. They're literally plugged in to a synthetic controlled reality that they cannot differentiate from their external bodily senses.
Do you have
disorder? This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities,
and it's like Chinese torture. I mean, so
ultimately controlling the enemy. The book, The Art of War, is an excellent short read, and it's to make your enemy believe you are near when you are far. It's to believe you are weak when you are strong. It's to believe you are, unorganized when you're very smart and strategic. And so they play all these games along with the torture scripts right out of the books on the target, and they make them believe that
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
So this gives you an idea of what's going on and why we go through this nastiness. Apparently, according to these patterns of how they torture people, this is a way to break down the target individual. This is a way they force you to break down from your self-image of who you think you are. They're changing who you are, and they want you to accept this. And you have people like neighbors, who at least they sound like neighbors, participating. I'm sure there's incentives. I'm sure we'll talk about the Department of Defense kind of budget. So I'm sure the incentives are plentiful. There's a lot of good incentive, not only financial but also the ability to partake in very sophisticated technology that in the future might be more mainstream. So you hear that this DARPA have been working on this technology to alter the mind since the 60s. The 60s, and this is like officially. So it could have been earlier than that, unofficially. And you heard this person saying, well, if the future of cognitive warfare, if the future of warfare is going to be cognitive, it makes sense that we use test subject to break them down by altering their mind, personality rebuild, meaning changing their personality, rebuild their personality, repattern their personality, change them. As I'm saying that, they try to find ways to make sense of the stupidity of how they want me to think. But what has this caused when you use test subjects? Because they do want to see the reactions of a target individual when they do these things. They want to see what they can make them do. There's a purpose. If it's a cognitive warfare, maybe the goal is to push somebody to kill themselves, which is the case. They tell you to kill yourself. It's over. They really do things to push you to insanity and to suicide. And some of the suicide, they utilize mass shooting to kill themselves. Listen to these people talking about why or the reason why they did what they did. Listen to what happened, for example, at the Navy Yard in 2013. Listen to how similar it sounds in comparison to what you just heard in regard of altering the mind.
Why? Was a mentally unstable individual. This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags. Thank you, Pierre.
So you hear that. He's thinking that his brain, he was being influenced by some kind of low electromagnetic frequencies, radiation, or things like that. And this is why he ended up killing 12 people. And there was a way to end this torment. Because that's how they're tormenting us. With this manipulation, these disturbing manipulations. You heard this consistency. Matter of fact, not too long ago, a mass shooting just happened with more death. 18 people died. This is in October of last year. Listen to that.
In me last week. From New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
Army reservist, and the documents show that these warnings concerned his deteriorating mental health, rising paranoia and anger, and they came from pretty much every part of his life. But as we now know, none of those warnings prevented this mass shooting.
Well, Nick, where should we start in the story of those warnings? You mentioned that they go back many months.
I mean, the first time when the local police are really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago in May, when his ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. They also note he has collected about 10 to 15 guns, has started to hear voices. He started to be increasingly paranoid.
Formal
happens is in July. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. He shoves one at one point, and everyone is just freaked.
So you heard this last mass shooting. This actually happened last year, October, like 4 months ago. Matter of fact, I was thinking about listen to this poor girl. She's like a matter of fact, sorry, not even that. A child died in this case. A 14-year-old died. He was very young, 14. Him and his father died on that day, showing how nasty and sad it is that they pushed this man into insanity. He was hearing voices. This is the V2K, and you're gonna hear what V2K does. And he killed 18 people, inclusive of children. One child died. Others were shot. V2K is this ability to not only project voices onto somebody's brain, but you can even manipulate thoughts. You know what they were trying to make me think? Well, sorry, they started making me think. They started making me have stimulation about this 10-year-old. That ask, why are they shooting her? Why would somebody shoot a bowling alley with a bunch of kids there? Listen to what she said. But they were stimulating me, and they've been trying to. What they do is it's like mind games, right? They make you have these thoughts via V2K, and they're like, "Oh, kill him!" It's like part of this mind games. Like they want you to identify with these thoughts. It's like me putting something in your pocket, right? And like, "Oh my God, kill him, get him!" And you're supposed to identify to this. It's just disturbing, but that's what they're supposed to do. But listen to what they were trying to counter here.
Others wounded. The first 911 call coming in around 7 p.m. from a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth night for a kids' bowling league.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Authorities releasing these surveillance images showing the suspect they're looking for. His name is Robert Card, and he's pictured armed with an AR-15 style rifle.
Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Megan Hutchinson and her 10-year-old daughter Zoe were at the bowling alley. Zoe's leg grazed by a bullet.
I I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Like, why do people do this?
After allegedly shooting several people inside the bowling alley, Card is believed to have traveled about 4 miles to a local.
So you hear this poor kid asking why? Why would somebody do that? As I was listening to that, like I said, I talked about the V2K. They can make you have thoughts. They will start making me have thoughts about some random things, but they were just timing what those thoughts that were somewhat sexual to when I look down, I see a child. I see this child. And try to connect this kid that's asking why, this 10-year-old kid is asking why would somebody shoot me and being in the bowling alley, shoot kids? And she never believed that she'll grow up, growing up and get shot in the leg. This is how sad it is. These people are disgusting. But when I talk about V2K, voice to skull, this is what I mean. What they were trying to connect with, they were making me think of somebody who just gave me some information and start making me think of some health issue that is sexual, and making me imagine certain things. And I look at her, I look at this kid, and then start creating some thoughts. It's so disturbing. They manipulate thoughts in ways that are almost nonsensical. It's even hard to articulate what they do in the way they manipulate your thoughts. But this is part of this V2K manipulations. Listen to what this woman says about V2K.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just.
So, V2K is the projection of voices you heard directly into your brain. This is what this guy Robert Card, who killed 18 people, inclusive of one child, and shooting at a bowling alley full of kids, he was hearing this V2K, these projected voices, calling him a pedophile. This is the derogative things they say to break you down. He killed a child and 17 other people, and wounded a 10-year-old. That to counter that, because V2K not only project voices, but they can manipulate thoughts. They start making me have thoughts that are sexual, and then make me look at this kid and create this like weird like connections that is so disgustingly pedophilia centric. That's what they do to torment me. It is nasty. But this governmental entity have been working on this for years. You heard it. DARPA has been working on how to alter the mind since the 60s. Since the 60s. But these entities, working on these governmental entities, have issue with with pedophilia for a long time. Pedophilia is used onto us target individuals to break us down. But there is a true issue of pedophilia in those agencies. Listen to this.
Sensitive secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them at high levels, across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
That was DARPA. This is a 2007 also investigation. In 2019, listen to this.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who were being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, "The notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on." Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny, just going in and out of